My name is Bob Jones, and I spent 40 years underneath cars before I ever picked up a camera. 40 years of customers driving in, paying me $200 for something their car could already do by itself. That's what today's video is about. I want you to grab your keys right now, not later, right now while I talk, because in about 90 seconds I'm going to ask you to press a button you've probably never touched, and I want you sitting in the driver's seat when you do it. Here's what happened last Tuesday. A woman named Carol brought in a 2019 Toyota. She wanted her mechanic, not me, a shop across town, to install a feature that would remember her seat position for two different drivers. Quoted her $340 for the part and labor. Her car already had it, built in, sitting in the settings menu the whole time. She'd owned that car for 5 years and paid 4 figures in dealership visits without anyone once mentioning it. That's not a rare story. That's Tuesday. That's most Tuesdays. I used to keep a little notebook behind the counter of every shop I worked. Every time a customer paid for something their car could already do on its own, I wrote it down. By the time I retired from wrenching full-time, that notebook had over 200 entries. Same handful of features, over and over, across a dozen different brands. Car companies bury dozens of features inside every vehicle they sell, and dealerships have almost no incentive to walk you through them, because a customer who knows their car doesn't need as many appointments. A service advisor gets paid on volume, not on teaching you where a button is. So today I'm going through 15 of them pulled straight out of that old notebook. Real ones, the kind sitting in your glove box manual that nobody reads, the kind hidden 3 menus deep in your infotainment screen, the kind that live in a button you assumed was decorative. Some of these will save you money outright. One of them alone stopped a customer of mine from a $400 tow bill last winter. Some of them will just make your daily drive less annoying. All 15 are things I've personally tested, on my own cars or customers' cars, over 4 decades in this business. I'm not reading these off a press release. I've had grease under my fingernails for every single one. One more thing before we start. Comment your car's year, make, and model below. I read every single one, and on next month's video I'm picking 10 of you and doing a feature breakdown specific to your exact car. Stick around because number 11 is the one almost nobody in this comment section is going to know, and it's saved more transmissions than anything else on this list. Let's get into it. Number 1. Your hazard lights double as an emergency brake signal in a way most drivers never use correctly. If you're driving in heavy rain or fog and you need to slow down fast, tapping your hazards for 2 or 3 seconds before you brake warns the cars behind you far earlier than brake lights alone. Truckers have used this for decades. Most passenger car drivers have no idea it works the same way in their own vehicle. I taught this one to my own daughter the week she got her license, after a near miss on a foggy morning outside Peoria, and she still uses it 15 years later. Number 2. That little button near your rearview mirror with the house icon, or sometimes a garage icon, is a HomeLink transmitter. It can be programmed to open your garage door, your gate, even some smart locks, without you carrying a separate remote. Takes about 5 minutes to set up, and most owners never touch it because nobody at the dealership walks them through it. I've had customers drive a car for 3 years with a garage remote clipped to the visor the entire time, never realizing the car itself could do the exact same job. Number 3. Most modern cars let you adjust how long your headlights stay on after you shut off the engine and get out. It's meant to light your path to the front door. Buried in settings, usually under exterior lighting, and adjustable from off to 15 seconds to 60. I had a customer walking to her apartment in a dark lot every night for 2 years who didn't know this existed. Number 4. Your fuel gauge arrow. Look at the little pump icon next to your gauge. There's a small arrow beside it pointing left or right. It tells you which side of the car your gas cap is on. I've watched grown adults pull up to a pump backwards more times than I can count, then hop out, walk around the entire car, and stretch the hose across the trunk because they never noticed the arrow was there the whole time. I want to slow down for a second on rental cars specifically, because this is where it matters most. You climb into an unfamiliar car at the airport, tired, in a hurry, and that little arrow is the fastest way to avoid circling a gas station twice, looking like you've never pumped gas before in your life. Number 5, many cars built in the last decade have a hidden trip odometer specifically for tracking maintenance intervals, separate from your regular trip meters. You can reset it after an oil change and it'll count exactly how many miles since that service, which takes the guesswork out of remembering when you're due. Now, at this point, I want to pause and tell you why I built the thing I'm about to mention. 40 years of doing this job taught me one lesson over and over. Shops make their real money on the repairs people assume they can't do themselves. Sensor replacements, brake jobs, fluid flushes, headlights, belt swaps. None of it is complicated once someone shows you the actual steps instead of hiding behind a service counter. That's exactly why I put everything I've learned, 40 years of it, into one place. It's not a textbook. It's a straight list of the repairs shops charge 4 times too much for, and exactly how to handle them yourself with tools you probably already own. Sensor replacements, brake jobs, fluid flushes, headlights, belt swaps. The stuff dealers mark up because they know most people won't question it. Every fix is in there with the part numbers, the real prices, and the steps. Plain language, no runaround. One copy, one time, and the first repair you do yourself pays for it 10 times over. Link is in the description. Go grab it. Now back to the list. Number 6. Your steering wheel probably hides a set of controls you've never used past volume and skip track. On most vehicles built after 2015, holding the voice command button for 3 seconds instead of tapping it opens a full menu that lets you dictate texts, set navigation, or call a contact hands-free without touching your phone at all. A customer of mine got a distracted driving ticket 2 years ago for glancing at her phone at a red light, and the officer pointed out the exact button on her own wheel that would have kept her hands where they belonged the entire time. Number 7. If your car has automatic climate control, there's usually a sync button or an icon that looks like 2 arrows pointing at each other. Press it once and your passenger side matches your driver's side setting exactly. Press it again and you can split them back apart for separate temperatures. Most families drive for years with one side of the car freezing and never realize the fix is one button away. Number 8. Your rear view mirror has a manual anti-glare tab on the bottom edge on most cars without auto-dimming. Flip it and headlights behind you at night get diverted instead of blasting straight into your eyes. I'd guess maybe 1 in 5 drivers I've talked to actually knows that little tab does anything. Number 9. Tire pressure monitoring systems on newer cars don't just flash a warning light. Dig into your dashboard menu and most will show you the exact PSI in each individual tire in real time without a gauge. I've had customers buy a $30 tire gauge for a feature sitting in their own dash the whole time. This matters more than people think, because catching a tire that's 5 pounds low before it's 20 pounds low is the difference between a quick top-off and a blowout on the highway. Number 10. Many vehicles have a hidden second key fob battery test. Hold the lock button while standing right next to the driver door. If the locks respond from 3 feet away but not from across the parking lot, that's your fob telling you the battery's dying weeks before it dies completely and leaves you locked out. A fresh coin battery costs about $4 at any drugstore. The tow truck to bail you out of a grocery store parking lot at midnight costs a lot more than that. Number 11, and this is the one I promised you. Automatic transmissions in a huge number of cars have a manual shift mode, usually marked with a plus and minus sign, or little paddles behind the steering wheel. Most drivers never use it. Here's why you should, at least occasionally. Riding the same gear in stop-and-go traffic for years wears the transmission's torque converter unevenly. Dropping into manual mode on a long downhill, or when you're crawling through heavy traffic, lets the transmission hold a lower gear instead of constantly hunting between 2 gears. I've pulled apart transmissions that failed early almost entirely from that hunting behavior, and I've pulled apart transmissions from drivers who used manual mode occasionally that looked 10 years younger inside. Number 12. Your washer fluid nozzles on a lot of newer trucks and SUVs aren't fixed. There's a tiny adjustment screw or pivot point where the nozzle meets the hood. If your spray is hitting the roof instead of the windshield, a small flathead screwdriver in 30 seconds fixes what most people just live with for years. I've had customers bring their truck in specifically for this, sit in my waiting room for an hour, and pay $110 for a job that takes less time than it took them to drive to the shop. Number 13. Nearly every car sold in the last 15 years has an ECU reset function, accessible without a scan tool, done by disconnecting the negative battery terminal for about 10 minutes. This won't fix a real mechanical problem, but it clears learned values that build up over time and can smooth out rough idle, reset adaptive transmission behavior, and clear certain warning lights that were just glitches. Dealers have charged customers of mine $300 for exactly this. A wrench, a rag to jot down your radio presets first, and 10 minutes standing in your driveway is the entire job. Number 14. Look under your steering column for a small port, usually shaped like a trapezoid. That's your OBD2 port, and a $15 Bluetooth scanner from any auto parts store plugs into it and reads the exact same diagnostic codes the dealership charges $80 to $120 just to look at. Number 15. Most keyless entry fobs have a panic button, but almost nobody knows the second use for it. Hold it down for 3 to 5 seconds from outside the car, and on many models it'll roll your windows up remotely if you left them cracked open before a storm rolled in. Saved a customer's leather seats during a surprise downpour 2 summers ago. That's 15. 15 features sitting in cars people drive every single day, mostly ignored, mostly unexplained, because explaining them doesn't make anyone money except you. I'll be honest, when I started writing this list, I thought I'd struggle to hit 15. I stopped at 31 and had to cut it down. That should tell you something about how much sits unused in the car parked in your own driveway right now. If even 3 of these were new to you, go check your own car right now before you forget. Test the hazard trick. Find your home link button. Check your actual tire pressure on the dash instead of guessing. Do it before you close this video because I guarantee you'll forget the details by tomorrow morning. And if you want the rest of what 40 years in a shop taught me, the actual repairs, not just the hidden buttons, the Driveway Mechanics Money Manual is linked below. It's the difference between paying a shop $400 and spending $40 on parts you install yourself in an afternoon. Every repair in there is written the same way I explained these 15 features. Plain, direct, no jargon, no assuming you already know what a torque wrench looks like. I built it because I got tired of watching good people get talked into repairs they could have handled themselves with a Saturday afternoon and a YouTube video playing in the garage. This channel gives you the free version of that. The manual gives you the whole shop. Subscribe if this saved you money today, because next week I'm tearing into the 5 warning lights mechanics hope you ignore. I'll see you then.